The ship came without warning. It dropped out of faster-than-light travel just beyond the moon and hung there like a dark jewel against the stars. It was massive, nearly 2 kilometers long, covered in strange symbols that glowed with soft blue light. Within minutes, every telescope on Earth pointed at it. Within hours, the world held its breath. Admiral Park Do-won stood in the command center of Earth's orbital station and watched the alien vessel through reinforced glass. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and a face that rarely showed emotion. He had commanded Earth's defense fleet for 15 years. He had trained for this moment his entire life. But now that it was here, he felt a cold weight in his chest. "They're hailing us," said a young officer at the communications console. "Audio and visual. They want to speak to our leaders." Park nodded slowly. "Send it to the United Earth Parliament. Let the president see it first." On the surface below, in the great assembly hall in Seoul, President Lee Jun-ho sat at the head of a curved table. Around him were the representatives of every nation on Earth. They had gathered quickly when the ship appeared. Now they watched as the main screen flickered and showed them their first alien face. The creature was tall and thin, with a hard shell covering its body like armor. Its head was narrow, with large black eyes and mandibles that clicked when it spoke. A translation device around its neck turned its sounds into words they could understand. "I am Krill," the alien said. "I speak for the Galactic Council. I bring a message for the species called humans." President Lee leaned forward. He was a calm man known for his patience and careful thinking, but his hands were tight on the table's edge. "We are listening," he said. Krill's mandibles clicked again. Perhaps it was a smile. Perhaps it was something else. "The Galactic Council governs this region of space. We are an alliance of 47 species. We have maintained order for 12,000 of your years. Every species in our territory lives under our protection and our laws." He paused. His black eyes seemed to look at each human in the room. "Your world has been observed for some time. You have developed space travel. You have spread to your nearby planets. This brings you to our attention? The Council has decided that Earth will now join our territory." Murmurs filled the assembly hall. President Lee raised his hand for silence. "What does joining your territory mean?" he asked. "It means you will submit to Council authority," Krill said. "You will pay tribute in resources and labor. Your ships will not travel beyond your star system without permission. In return, you will receive protection from threats and limited access to trade with other species." One of the representatives stood up. She was a woman from the African Union, and her voice was sharp. "And if we refuse?" Krill turned his head toward her. His eyes were empty of any feeling humans could read. "No species refuses the Council. Those who resist are given corrective integration. Your military would be destroyed. Your leaders would be replaced. Your population would be put to work in ways that benefit the Council. This has happened many times. It is not pleasant. It is not necessary. Submit willingly and your people will be treated fairly." Silence filled the room. It was the silence of shock, of anger, of fear. President Lee spoke carefully. "How long do we have to make this decision?" 30 standard days, Krill said. "After that, a Council fleet will arrive. If you have submitted, they will begin peaceful integration. If you have not, they will begin corrective measures." His mandibles clicked one final time. "Choose wisely, humans. The Council's patience is not endless." The screen went dark. The room exploded into noise. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others called for resistance. Some sat in stunned silence, unable to accept what they had heard. President Lee let them argue for several minutes. Then he stood and raised his voice. "Enough." The room quieted. "We will not make this decision in panic. We will gather information. We will consider our options. And we will respond as one people, not as frightened individuals." He turned to his aide. "Get me Admiral Park and find Kim Yuna from the diplomatic corps. I want them here within the hour." Kim Yuna arrived first. She was a small woman with quick eyes and a mind that never stopped working. She had spent 20 years studying what little information Earth had gathered about alien species from distant signals and ancient probes. Now all that study would be put to the test. The Council is a hierarchy, she told the President and his advisors. The strongest species rule. The weaker ones serve. They have never met a species that refused them because refusal has never succeeded. They are not offering us a choice. They are giving us an order. Admiral Park arrived next. He stood at attention, but there was something in his eyes that the President noticed. Something that looked almost like hope. Admiral, Lee said, what is the state of our defenses? Can we fight this Council fleet? Park was quiet for a moment. Then he said, may I speak with you privately, sir? They went to a smaller room. Just the two of them. Park closed the door and took a breath. Sir, for the last 100 years, Earth has maintained a secret program. It is called the Vanguard Initiative. Only a handful of people know about it. We always knew this day might come. We knew that somewhere out there, someone would try to claim us. Lee stared at him. What kind of program? Ships, Park said. Weapons. Technology that we have never revealed to the public or to any foreign power. We have been preparing for exactly this situation. How prepared? Park met his eyes. Prepared enough that we have a choice, sir. We can submit, or we can fight. And if we fight, we can win. President Lee walked to the window and looked out at the city below. Millions of people went about their lives, not yet knowing how much everything was about to change. 30 days, he said quietly. They gave us 30 days, yes, sir. Lee turned back to the Admiral. Then we have 30 days to get ready. Because I will not kneel to anyone who comes to my world and demands submission. His voice was steady and hard. Show me what we have built, Admiral. Show me the Vanguard. And in the darkness of space, the Council envoy ship turned and flew away, carrying Krill back to his masters with full confidence that Earth would kneel. He was wrong. The shuttle flew through the darkness between worlds. Admiral Park sat beside President Lee, watching through the window as Mars grew smaller behind them. They had already seen the public shipyards, the cargo vessels, the small patrol ships that Earth showed to the universe. Those were not their destination. How much further? The President asked. Not long, Park said. The main facility is hidden in the Kuiper Belt, far enough that no one looks there, cold enough that heat signatures disappear. We built it to be invisible. Lee nodded but said nothing. He was still processing what Park had told him. 100 years of secret work. Trillions of credits spent in hidden budgets. Thousands of scientists and engineers who had lived and died keeping this secret. All for this moment. The shuttle passed through a field of icy rocks, and then the station appeared. It was enormous, built into an asteroid that had been hollowed out and reinforced. Lights glowed from hundreds of ports along its surface. And around it, floating in perfect formation, were ships. Lee pressed his hand against the window. My God, he whispered, the ships were beautiful and terrible. They were angular and sharp, covered in dark armor that seemed to drink in the light. They were not like any vessel Earth had ever shown to the public. These were predators. The Vanguard fleet, Park said. 62 warships. The smallest is 300 meters long. The largest is the flagship, the Taiguk. She is nearly a kilometer from bow to stern. Their shuttle docked with the station, and a woman was waiting for them in the hangar. She was in her 40s, with short hair and grease stains on her uniform. She looked tired, but her eyes were bright with intelligence and pride. President Lee, she said, bowing slightly. I am Troy Hanna, Chief Engineer of the Vanguard Initiative. Welcome to our shipyard. Lee shook her hand. Show me everything. Hanna led them through corridors filled with workers and machines. She explained as they walked. The Council species have had space travel for thousands of years. They are advanced, but they are also old. They stopped innovating long ago because they did not need to. Their weapons and shields have not changed in centuries. And ours? Lee asked. Hanna smiled. Ours are different. We studied every signal, every piece of alien technology we could find. And then we asked, what did they miss? What paths did they not take? They entered a vast chamber where a railgun barrel stretched 50 meters long. Hannah pointed to it. Council ships use energy weapons. Lasers, plasma, particle beams. Their shields are designed to absorb and disperse energy. So we use kinetic weapons. Solid projectiles fired at incredible speeds. Their shields cannot stop them. They moved on to another section where engineers worked on glowing drive units. Council ships use dimension folding for faster-than-light travel. It is slow to charge and hard to aim. Our spectre drives use a different method. We can jump within a star system almost instantly. We can appear behind an enemy, fire, and disappear before they can react. Lee looked at the drive unit with wonder. How did we develop this? Humanity's greatest strength, Hannah said. We never stop asking questions. We never assume we know everything. The Council. Species are old and proud. They believe they have found the best answers. We believe there are always better answers waiting to be found. They finally reached the main hangar where the Taiguk waited. The flagship was massive, its hull dark gray and covered in weapon ports. Lee walked along its length, touching the cold metal. Can we win? He asked quietly. Admiral Park and Hannah exchanged a look. Then Park spoke. Against the fleet they will send in 30 days? Yes, we can destroy them completely. But the Council has thousands of ships. If we bloody their nose, they will send everything they have. Then we need more than ships, Lee said. We need strategy. They returned to the station's command center where others were waiting. Kim Yuna had arrived from Earth with her team of analysts. A young officer stood with them, a woman with sharp features and calm eyes. Her name was Baek Ji-woo, and she was the fleet's top tactical mind. Yuna spoke first. I have been studying Council psychology. They are not used to resistance. Their wars have always been against species much weaker than themselves. They suppress. They do not truly fight. This makes them slow to adapt and quick to panic when things go wrong. Their alliance is also fragile, added one of her analysts. 47 species held together by fear and self-interest. Many of them hate the Council but are too afraid to resist. If we show that the Council can be beaten, some of them may turn against their masters. Baek Ji-woo stepped forward. She had been studying the tactical data for days. We should not wait for them to come to us. After we defeat their first fleet, we should strike at Council space. Hit their shipyards and command centers. Make them afraid to continue? Lee raised an eyebrow. You want us to invade? I want us to make them understand that we are not prey, Ji-woo said. Her voice was firm. Every species they have conquered waited for the Council to come to them. They played defense and lost. We need to play offense. We need to make the Council fear us. Park nodded slowly. She is right, sir. If we only defend, they will grind us down eventually. We need to break their will to fight. Lee looked around the room at these people who had worked in secret for so long, preparing for a war they hoped would never come. They were brilliant and brave. They were ready. What about allies? He asked Yuna. You said some species hate the Council. Can we reach them? It is possible, Yuna said. There is a station called Haven's Rest in neutral space. Traders and smugglers from many species go there. It would be a place to make contact quietly. Lee made his decision. Then here is what we will do. Admiral Park, prepare the fleet. When the Council comes, we will show them what humanity can do. Kim Yuna, go to this Haven's Rest. Find species who might stand with us or at least refuse to stand against us. And Troy Hannah, build more ships. Build them as fast as you can. He looked at the image of the Taiguk on the screen. We did not ask for this fight, but we will not run from it. Earth's reply to the Council will not be words. It will be fire. The room responded with determined silence. They had work to do across the solar system. The days counted down. The Council fleet gathered and prepared to jump to Seoul. Confident in their easy victory, they had no idea what was waiting for them in the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt. The Vanguard fleet powered up its engines. Railguns were loaded. Spectre drives were tested. Crews ran drills until they could fight in their sleep, and on the bridge of the Taiguk, Admiral Park Do-won sat in the command chair and watched the stars. 30 days, he said to himself. Let them come. The Council fleet arrived on the 30th day, exactly as promised. 200 warships tore open the fabric of space and emerged between Mars and the asteroid belt. They were massive vessels, their hulls covered in glowing symbols of authority. Their weapon ports already hot and ready. Fleet Commander Vrel stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the tactical display. He was a Vrel, an amphibian species with smooth gray skin and large, unblinking eyes. He had commanded suppression fleets for 300 years. He had never lost. Scan the system, he ordered. Find their population centers and military assets. His officers worked quickly. The data came back within minutes. Commander, we detect 62 vessels in formation near Mars. They appear to be warships. Vrel made a sound that might have been a laugh. 62? Against 200? These humans are brave but foolish. Open a channel. On the bridge of the Taiguk, Admiral Park watched the Council fleet spread into attack formation. They moved with practiced precision, each ship taking its assigned position. It was impressive. It was also predictable. Incoming transmission, reported the communications officer. Put it through. Commander Vrel's face appeared on the screen. His large eyes studied Park with what might have been curiosity or contempt. Human Commander. I am Fleet Commander Vrel. I give you one final chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and submit to Council authority. Your people will be spared unnecessary suffering. Park's expression did not change. I am Admiral Park Do-won of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have entered our territory without permission. You have threatened our world and our people. We do not recognize your authority. We will not submit. Vrel's eyes blinked slowly. Then you choose destruction. So be it. The channel closed. Park turned to his crew. They were young, most of them. They had trained for years, but they had never faced real combat. Neither had he, but they were ready. All ships, Park said calmly, execute battle plan Hammer. Weapons free. The Vanguard fleet moved. Vrel expected the human ships to advance in a standard formation. Instead, they vanished. One moment they were there, and the next moment they were gone. His tactical display flickered with confusion. Where did they go? He demanded. Before anyone could answer, the first human ships reappeared behind his fleet. Railgun slugs screamed through space at 20 kilometers per second and slammed into Council vessels from the rear. Shields that were designed to stop energy weapons shattered like glass. Hulls tore open. Atmosphere vented into the void. Return fire! Vrel shouted. His ships turned, their plasma cannons blazing. But the human ships were already gone, jumping to new positions, appearing on the flanks, above, below. They struck and vanished like ghosts on the Taiguk. Beat Jiwoo commanded the fighter drone squadrons from her station. Her neural link fed her data from hundreds of sensors, and she processed it all with perfect clarity. She saw the battle like a game of strategy, and she was winning. Squadron 3, target their cruiser line. Squadron 5, protect our heavy hitters. Squadron 7, I need you to draw their carriers out of formation. Acknowledged, came the responses. The drones moved like extensions of her will. Lieutenant Shin Tae-ho stood at the weapons console, his hands flying over the controls. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke more than necessary. But he was an artist with the ship's main guns. Admiral, he reported, I have a firing solution on their flagship. Park studied the display. Vrel's ship was surrounded by escort vessels, but there was a gap in their formation. It would close in seconds. Take the shot. Tae-ho activated the Sunlance, the Taiguk's primary weapon. It was a concentrated beam of energy that used principles the Council had never discovered. The beam crossed the distance in an instant and struck Vrel's flagship dead center. The ship's shields flared and died. Its engines exploded. It began to drift across the Council fleet. Panic spread. Their commander's ship was crippled. The human weapons were cutting through their defenses like they did not exist. Ships that had never faced real opposition were suddenly fighting for their lives. All ships, close formation. A council captain ordered, trying to take command. Concentrate fire on their largest vessel. 20 council ships turned their weapons on the Taiguk. Plasma beams and particle cannons filled space with deadly light. But the Taiguk was not there. It jumped, reappearing 1,000 kilometers away, and its sister ships opened fire on the now clustered council vessels. It was a slaughter on the Taiguk's bridge. Park watched the battle unfold. His people were fighting brilliantly. Jiwoo's drones were everywhere at once. Taiho's guns never missed. The Spectre drives were working perfectly, keeping the enemy confused and off balance, but War was not clean. One of his cruisers, the Baiko, took a direct hit when its drive failed to activate in time. It exploded, taking 400 crew with it. Another ship, the Kianma, was rammed by a desperate council destroyer. Both vessels died together. Park felt each loss like a wound. But he could not stop. Not now, Admiral, reported the sensor officer. Council fleet is breaking formation. Multiple ships are retreating toward the jump point. Do not let them escape, Park said. All ships pursue and destroy. The Vanguard fleet chased the fleeing council vessels. More ships died on both sides. A human frigate sacrificed itself to stop a council carrier from escaping with its fighter complement. A council cruiser, its crew determined to take someone with them, charged the Taiguk and was torn apart by railgun fire meters from impact. After 6 hours, it was over. 143 council ships were destroyed or disabled. The survivors, barely 40 vessels, jumped away in scattered groups, running for council space. The Vanguard fleet had lost 12 ships. Over 3,000 human lives. Park sat in his chair and looked at the field of debris that filled his view screen. Broken ships tumbled through space, surrounded by clouds of frozen atmosphere and the bodies of the dead. Alien and human floated together in the cold silence. Sir, said his communications officer, we are receiving a signal from the council flagship. Someone survived. Put it through. Commander Vrel appeared on the screen. He was injured, gray blood running down his face. His bridge was dark and filled with smoke. But his eyes were the same as before, large and unblinking. You have won this battle, human. But you have not won the war. The Council will send everything it has. Thousands of ships. You will be destroyed. Park looked at him calmly. Then we will destroy thousands of ships. And when you send more, we will destroy those too. Until you understand that Earth will not kneel. Vrel's eyes blinked. For the first time, there was something like fear in them. What are you? We are humanity, Park said. Remember that. He cut the channel. On the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime, the High Chamber received the report of the battle. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Great Hall fell silent. A Council fleet had been destroyed. Not defeated, destroyed, by a species they had thought primitive. The order was given. Mobilize everything. 4,000 warships from a dozen species. The humans would be wiped out. Their planet would be burned. Their name would be forgotten, but even as the armada gathered, some in the Council wondered. If the humans could do this with 60 ships, what else could they do? And far away, on the Station Haven's rest, Kim Yuna received word of Earth's victory. She smiled and turned to the alien representative she had been meeting in secret. Now, she said, let us talk about the future. The war had only begun. Haven's Rest was not a beautiful place. It was a station built from the wreckage of old ships, held together by desperate repairs and stubborn will. It floated in a system that belonged to no one, a place where criminals and traitors and refugees came to disappear. The Council called it lawless. The people who lived there called it free. Kim Yuna walked through its crowded corridors with 2 guards at her back. She wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. She did not want to look like a conqueror. She wanted to look like a friend. The news of Earth's victory had spread fast. Everywhere she went, aliens stopped to stare at her. A human, one of the species that had destroyed a Council fleet. Some looked at her with fear, some with hatred, but many looked at her with something else. Hope. She reached a private room at the back of a trading house. 3 aliens waited for her inside. They were from different species, but they all had one thing in common. They hated the Council. The first was Gorn, a Keth. His species was reptilian, with scaled skin and sharp teeth. The Council had conquered the Keth 600 years ago and had used them as soldiers ever since. They were tired of dying for masters who despised them. The second was a being called Silica. A.N. Orin. The Orin were silicon-based life forms, living crystals that thought and spoke. The Council had mined their homeworld nearly to death, harvesting Orin eggs to use in technology. They wanted to survive. The third was a small, furred creature named Pip. His species, the Ven, were known as mechanics and engineers. The Council used them as forced labor in shipyards. They wanted to be free. Yuna sat down across from them. She did not waste time with pleasantries. You have heard what happened in our system. The Council sent 200 ships. We destroyed them. Now they are sending 4,000. Gorn's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. And you will lose. Even your magic ships cannot defeat those numbers. Perhaps, Yuna said. Perhaps not. But that is not why I am here. I am here to ask you a question. What do you want? The 3 aliens looked at each other. It was Pip who spoke first, his voice high and quick. We want to stop being slaves. We want our worlds back. We want to live without fear. Then we want the same thing, Yuna said. Earth does not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to replace the Council with ourselves. We want a galaxy where every species is free, where alliances are built on respect, not fear. Silica's crystalline form pulsed with light. Words are easy. The Council made promises too, long ago. You are right, Yuna agreed. So let me offer more than words. When the Council falls, and it will fall, we will help you rebuild. We will share technology. We will trade fairly. And we will never, ever demand that you kneel. She leaned forward. But I need something from you first. When the Council Armada comes for Earth, do not join it. Keep your ships out of the fight, and when we strike at the Council's heart, be ready to act. Declare your independence. Others will follow. The Council is held together by fear. Once that fear breaks, so will the Council. Gorn growled low in his throat. If you fail, the Council will punish us all. If we fail, Yuna said, the Council will punish you anyway. They always do. But if we win, everything changes. The question is whether you want to be part of that change. The 3 aliens were quiet for a long moment. Then Gorn nodded slowly. The Keth will not fight for the Council. Not this time. Silica's light pulsed again. The Orin will watch and wait. If you break the Council's power, we will rise. Pip chittered something in his own language, then switched back. The Ven are tired of building ships that kill our friends. We will do what we can. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. That is all I ask. Far away, in the Kuiper Belt shipyard, Troy Hanna worked without sleep. She had lost weight. Her eyes were red, but she would not stop. We need more ships, she told her team. Every day we do not build is a day closer to the Armada arriving. Work faster. The engineers and workers pushed themselves to their limits. New ships took shape in the construction bays. Railguns were assembled. Spectre drives were installed. The fleet grew from 62 ships to 80, then 90, then more, but Hannah knew it would not be enough. Not against 4,000. She sat alone in her office and looked at the numbers. Even with their technological edge, Earth could not survive a battle of attrition. They would run out of ships before the Council ran out of enemies. Her door opened, and Admiral Park walked in. He looked tired, too. Everyone looked tired now. How many? He asked. 112 ships when the Armada arrives. Maybe a few more if nothing goes wrong. Park nodded. He had known the answer before asking. Then we cannot fight them here. We need to take the war to them. Hannah looked up. Strike at Council space? With what we have? With what we have, Park confirmed. We hit their command structure. We destroy their shipyards. We make them afraid to continue. He paused. I know it is a risk, but waiting here is certain death. Attacking gives us a chance. Hannah thought about it. Then she smiled, just a little. I always said the best defense is a good offense. I suppose now we test that theory. In the command center, President Lee met with his war council. Admiral Park presented the plan. Kim Yuna, returned from Haven's Rest, reported on their potential allies. Baek Ji-woo outlined the tactical approach. We take 50 ships, Ji-woo said, pointing at the star map. The fastest and strongest. We jump directly to Nexus Prime, the council capital. We destroy their orbital defenses, their military headquarters, and their main shipyard. We cut off the head. And the Armada? Asked one of the generals. It is already on its way here. If we succeed, the Armada will have no leadership, no coordination, and when the subject species see the council broken, they will rebel. The Armada will fracture. And if we fail? Lee asked. Yu met his eyes. Then we die trying. But we were going to die anyway, sir. This way we have a chance to win. Lee looked around the room. He saw fear in some faces, determination in others. He saw people who had never asked for war but who would not run from it. Admiral Park, he said, you will lead the strike force. Take the Tegek and our best ships. Hit them hard and fast. Yes, sir, Lee turned to Yuna. Send word to our new friends. Tell them to be ready. When the council falls, they need to move immediately. Yuna nodded. I will make sure they know. Lee stood and faced them all. We are a young species. We have been in space for only a few centuries. The council has ruled for 12,000 years. They believe they are eternal. They believe they cannot be broken. His voice hardened. They are wrong. Everything breaks. Everything falls. And when we are done, everyone in the galaxy will know that humanity does not kneel. The Vanguard strike force gathered. 50 ships, the best Earth had. Their crews said goodbye to friends and family, knowing they might not return. They loaded ammunition and charged weapons. They ran final tests on their Spectre drives on the bridge of the Taeguk. Admiral Park sat in his command chair one last time before the jump. Beside him stood Baek Ji-woo, her face calm and focused. At his weapons console was Shin Tai-ho, quiet as always, ready to do his job. All ships report ready, the communications officer said. Park looked at the view screen. Stars. Endless stars. Somewhere out there was Nexus Prime and the beings who had demanded humanity's submission. Send a message to Kim Yuna, he said. Tell her, when the council falls, be ready to build something better. Yes, sir. Park took a breath. All ships activate Spectre drives. Target, Nexus Prime. The stars blurred. The fleet vanished from Solda and reappeared in the heart of council space. Above a world that had never known fear. Until now, Nexus Prime was a jewel among the stars. Its cities covered entire continents, towers of glass and light reaching toward the sky. Orbital stations circled it like rings, each one home to millions. It was the center of council power, the heart of an empire that had ruled for 12,000 years, and it had never been attacked. Not once in all that time. The very idea was unthinkable until 50 human warships appeared in its sky. Alarms screamed across the planet. Defense stations powered up weapons that had not been fired in centuries. The Council High Guard scrambled to launch ships that were more ceremonial than combat-ready. Panic transmissions flooded all channels. On the bridge of the Taeguk, Admiral Park Do-won looked at the world below him. It was beautiful. He took no pleasure in what he was about to do. Target their military installations only, he ordered. Shipyards, defense platforms, command centers. We are not here to kill civilians. We are here to break their ability to make war. Yes, sir, responded his officers, the Vanguard fleet. Spread into attack formation and opened fire, railgun slugs tore through the orbital defense grid. The ancient stations, designed for threats that no longer existed, exploded one after another. Plasma cannons on the surface fired back. But the human ships danced away on their Spectre drives, impossible to hit. The main shipyard. A massive structure that could build 100 warships at once was struck by coordinated fire from 12 human vessels. It broke apart in a chain of explosions that lit up the sky like a new sun. Below, in the high chamber, the council leaders watched in horror. These were beings who had ruled the galaxy. They had commanded fleets and crushed rebellions and decided the fate of entire species. Now they stood helpless as their world burned. "Where is our defense fleet?" demanded the speaker, a tall being with multiple arms and cold, calculating eyes. "Destroyed or scattered," reported an aide. "The humans are targeting our military with precision. Our civilian areas are untouched, but our ability to fight is being eliminated." "Then send word to the Armada. Tell them to return." "The Armada is 12 days from Earth. Even if they turn around now, they will not arrive for weeks." The speaker's hands clenched. "Contact the humans. Demand they stop. Threaten them with total annihilation." But before anyone could act, the chamber doors exploded inward. Big Jiwoo walked through the smoke with her boarding team behind her. They wore combat armor and carried weapons, but they did not fire. They did not need to. The council guards took one look at them and dropped their weapons. Jiwoo stopped in front of the council leaders. She was not tall. She was not physically imposing. But there was something in her eyes that made even the speaker take a step back. "You demanded our submission," she said. Her voice was calm, almost conversational. "You gave us 30 days to kneel or be destroyed. You said we would be integrated or exterminated." She looked around the chamber at the beings who had threatened her world. "Here is Earth's reply." She stepped aside, and President Lee Juno appeared on every screen in council space. His face was serious but not cruel. He spoke clearly, and translation programs carried his words to every species in the galaxy. "People of the Council and the galaxy beyond. I am President Lee Junho of United Earth. For 30 days, your leaders demanded that we submit to their authority or face destruction. We refused. They sent a fleet to our home. We destroyed it. Now we have come to theirs." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We did not ask for this war. We did not want it. We were happy to develop in peace, to explore the stars on our own terms. But when someone comes to your home and tells you to kneel, you have only two choices. You can kneel or you can stand. Humanity will always stand." His expression softened slightly. "But we are not here for revenge. We are not here for conquest. Look at your world. We have destroyed your military targets, but we have not touched your cities. We have not harmed your people. We could have. We chose not to, because we do not want to rule you. We do not want to be the new council, demanding tribute and obedience from everyone we meet." He leaned forward. "We want something better. We want a galaxy where every species is free, where alliances are based on mutual respect, not fear, where trade is fair and borders are honored, where no one kneels to anyone. The Council's age of dominion is over. What comes next is up to all of us." He straightened. "To the species who have lived under Council rule, we offer friendship. Join us in building something new. To the Council itself, we offer peace. Renounce your claims of authority, release the species you have conquered, and we will leave your world intact. Refuse, and we will continue until you have nothing left to fight with." His final words were steady and firm. "The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Humanity's patience is not endless either." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched and listened. For 12,000 years, the Council had been the only power, unchallengeable, eternal, and now, in a single day, a species they had never heard of had broken it. On Haven's Rest, Kim Yuna received confirmation from her contacts. The Keth fleet was standing down. The Oran were declaring independence. The Ven was seizing control of shipyards and refusing to build more Council warships. A dozen other species were following their lead. The Armada, still traveling toward Earth, began to fracture. Keth ships turned away. Oran vessels refused to continue. Captains of subject species received word of what was happening and decided they no longer wanted to fight for masters who could not even defend their own capital. Within days, the Armada was half its original size. Within weeks, it no longer existed as a unified force on Nexus Prime. The Council leaders faced reality. Their fleet was gone. Their allies were abandoning them. Their military was destroyed. They could continue fighting with what little they had left, but it would achieve nothing except more death. The speaker called for a vote. The Council chose survival. They agreed to Earth's terms. 1 year later, the first assembly of the Galactic Compact met on a station built specifically for the purpose. It was in neutral space, far from any world. A place where every species was equal. Kim Yuna represented Earth. She sat at a curved table with beings from 32 species, each one an equal partner in the new alliance. There were no masters here, no subjects. Just neighbors trying to build something better together. She thought about the year that had passed. The treaties signed, the trade routes opened, the technology shared. It had not been easy. Some species did not trust each other. Some did not trust humans. Old hatreds and old fears did not disappear overnight, but they were trying. That was what mattered. Admiral Park Do-won retired from active duty. He had never wanted to be a warrior. He had only wanted to protect his people. Now he taught at the military academy, training the next generation to be ready for threats he hoped would never come. Choi Hanna led a joint research initiative, working with engineers from a dozen species to develop new technology. The Spectre drive was shared with all eyes. So were other innovations. In return, humanity learned from the knowledge of older civilizations. Everyone grew stronger together. Big Jiwoo commanded the Taeguk, now a peacekeeping vessel that patrolled the new frontier. There were still pirates and raiders, still conflicts that needed to be resolved. She handled them with the same calm precision she had shown in battle. But now she fought to protect the peace, not to win a war. And on Earth, in cities around the world, people went about their lives knowing that they were part of something larger. They were no longer alone in the universe. They had neighbors, allies, friends among the stars. It was strange and wonderful and sometimes frightening, but they had proven something to themselves and to everyone else. When someone demanded their submission, they had not knelt. They had stood up and replied with everything. They had, and the galaxy would never forget it. In the histories that were written later, scholars would call it the 30-Day War. They would study the tactics and the technology, the diplomacy and the alliances. They would debate whether humanity had been lucky or skilled, reckless or brave, but everyone agreed on one thing. When the Galactic Council claimed authority, Earth's reply shook them and the galaxy changed forever.